It appears that nowadays the Fatimiyya season is commemorated with greater vigor than, say, 10 or 20 years ago and beyond. Why is that? Those of you who are in your perhaps 30s and 40s and above will believe this to be the case. Because 20 years ago, Fatimiyya was not commemorated with the same level of enthusiasm and vigor as it is today. And the reason for that goes to what I believe 2 points. The first is that back in those days, the Shia were concentrated, the followers of the Ahlul Bayt, were concentrated in Iran and Iraq. In Iraq, we're talking about the country that was under the control of the Ba'ath regime. So how do you expect for Fatimiyya to be commemorated in a manner that is suitable and befitting to the grand status of this event when the ruler of the country is someone like Saddam? In Iran, it was also a similar situation, because back under the Pahlavi reign, things weren't as they are today. Today, the community in Iran, those who are devoted and those who are religious, ultimately seek their authority from the Maraja. They seek it from the Islamic seminaries, the Hawza of the holy cities of Qom, Mashhad, Isfahan, and others. Whereas back in those days, it was a very different situation. Under the Pahlavi reign, you weren't able to practice your faith as freely. And so if these two countries barred the commemoration of Fatimiyya, do you then expect Fatimiyya to be commemorated in the eastern province of the Arabian Peninsula, what's called Saudi Arabia, for example? Do you expect Fatimiyya to be commemorated in a country like Bahrain, where despite the fact that the majority of the population are Shia, yet any sign that depicts Fatimiyya, this door that you see right here, that beautifully represents a replica of the door of the house of Fatimah Zahra that was set alight and burnt down. If you see a door like that in Bahrain, it is immediately removed by the authorities. There are videos of that to this day. Just a couple of days ago, I watched a video where the locals had put up a door similar to that in the main town square, and they brought in military hardware to break it and to tear it down. They actually brought in those heavily armored vehicles to break it down. So the Shia are still unable to commemorate Fatimiyya as it should be commemorated. Where are the Shia going to commemorate it? In a country like Malaysia, for example, where the Shia are persecuted? Are they supposed to commemorate it in other Wahhabi-dominated countries? Obviously not. So the reason that shift has occurred, and Alhamdulillah, we are proud and honored to be living at a time where the truth is becoming manifest. And that is something we should be infinitely grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for allowing us to grow up in a time where Fatimiyya is a given. The tragedy of Fatimah Zahra is a given. No one disputes it, at least not within us. Which brings me to the second reason why I believe Fatimiyya wasn't commemorated as it should back in those days. And that is because around 20 years ago or so, many misconceptions were raised about Fatimiyya. And so while Fatimiyya was being practiced and commemorated, but when the doubts began to creep in, when the misconceptions started to be broadcast, that's when the ulama, the scholars, the maraja, the speakers realized that this was an event that had to be amplified, that we had to turn it up a notch. And turn it up, they did, in order to ensure that if there is anyone in the community that has doubts, if there is anyone who requires clarification, this clarification could be provided. I hope that answers that question.